Hello and welcome, or most likely welcome back, because I'm sure you've been watching throughout the morning and indeed throughout the last 4 days here at the New Zealand Campus of Innovation and Sport just outside Wellington. It's the 2024 World Wheelchair Rugby Paralympic Qualification Tournament. And unfortunately for the two teams here, qualification is now beyond them. They failed to make it out of the group stages. The Dutch here that we're looking at gave a really good account of themselves in the opening match. They defeated New Zealand 44-36, breaking the hearts of the locals, but they ended up coming up just short later on against Brazil, and that meant that they couldn't make it through to the semi-finals. The Swiss, they struggled. They were in a tough group, losing to Australia on the first day. Then after that, Germany, their local rivals, and then Colombia. So they ended up finishing 4th in their group. So it's 3rd versus 4th. We're in the classification matches. And this is to see who finishes 5th, 6th, 7th and 8th. My name's Drew Lilly. Alongside me, I am lucky enough to have a Paralympic bronze medalist, Grant Sharman. It's going to be what should be a very balanced match from two very balanced lineups.
I think it'll be interesting to see. So European on European, same style of play, I suggest. I'll be intrigued to see just who wins out, because the Dutch do have, shall I say, stronger highs, but the balance of Switzerland means they've got better outlets. It'll be interesting to see whether they key up, whether they press up, what tactics they use.
Now, I managed to have a quick chat with a couple of members of staff before the match, and the first one was the Dutch coach, Martin van Hinten. Martin, how difficult was it for the team to come to terms with the disappointment yesterday?
It was a lot of disappointment, yes, but it takes a few hours, and now we are focusing on the next match to Switzerland, so that's good.
So is it like a new tournament starting for you today?
Of course, we want to play for the 5th place.
And how pleased have you been with the performance of your whole squad? They've put in some really good matches.
Yes, we did it very well, yes. We expected the 7th or the 8th place here. The first game against New Zealand was very good, yes. And now we have to play to Switzerland. It's the 3rd time in 2 years. The last 2 games we lose, so for us it's a big moment now.
Good luck. Thank you.
Very much, yes.
Then after that, I had a quick chat with Charlotte Blesmay, who is part of the backroom staff of the Swiss squad. Charlotte, it must be like a new tournament starting for the team today.
Yes, we're gonna try our best today. It's a new challenge, but hope it's gonna work today, yes.
Your opposition today, the Netherlands, very familiar with them. You've beaten them a couple of times in a row. Are you the favourites today?
Yeah, it's complicated to say yes or no, but we're gonna try our best. I saw the last match with the other teams and they played pretty good too, so we're gonna have a nice challenge, yes.
And you've had some good news in terms of classification and reclassification for Joël Jung.
Yes, absolutely. Yesterday he was 1 and today he's 0.5. And it's really a game changer for us because the strategy gonna be a little bit different.
Good luck for the match today.
Thank you very much, thank you.
And there is Charlotte, who was telling us about the reclassification there of Joël Jung, so that could open up some more possibilities for the Swiss playing in white and the Dutch in their traditional oranje in the orange. Davy van der Dop picks up the ball straight away, so the Dutch get the first possession. And then an immediate steal from Armand Doutai. So, well, that's exactly what you want to do first up. The tip was won by the Dutch, so the next possession, the possession arrow goes the way of the Swiss, and they get an immediate turnover.
Yeah, look, it's a double whammy, but of course it's the question of the ball going into the weakest hands being a 1-5. Now, he's not weak, he's a strong player, but it's the weaker hands, and they were able to pressure him.
So a break of service for the Swiss. You can see the possession arrow there. It's on the table that was to the right of your screen, and it was pointing in the way that the Swiss are attacking. So they will get the next contested possession, either a held ball or at the start of the next quarter. Now, advantage for the Dutch in that Armin Doutai has been sent to the sin bin. So Davy van den Dop is going to be able to cruise over, but he's taking his time to make sure that his teammates can set up where they want to be on defence and also try to trap Doutai, which is what they've done, forcing him to do the inbound.
So inbounding to a low point, always a little bit risky, but he got it off. Long ball now. He'll need to pull away from this and reset up, or that's going to happen.
There we go. The ball is tossed away there by Doutai. It was a little bit of a hopeful pass, more hope than expectation, and it's Hector Loma, the man with a smile on his face all the time, but he's gritting his teeth there. Determination. You can tell what it means to these two European rivals. They can't qualify for the Paralympics, as we said, but they certainly want to get some ranking points. They want to get some local bragging rights. The more points you get, the higher your ranking, and that can lead to extra funding, is the long and the short of it a lot of the time.
Pretty much. Also in terms of tournament draws, where you would draw, that previous, when a ball was thrown away, as a coach, it's a coach killer. There was no need for it whatsoever.
It was a blind pass that Doutai threw out, and they've done all the hard work, the Swiss. And that's a couple of passes that have gone astray here. Is it too early for a coach's timeout?
No, I don't think so. Look, they need to reset. I call a coach's timeout and just say, settle down, go back to basics. This is 2 minutes into the first quarter. It's crazy.
So the timeouts there, you can see them on the scoreboard. My apologies for those of you who watch this sport and play this sport week in, week out, but for those of you joining us for the first time, maybe not sure, we've got the scoreboard there that says Netherlands 3, Switzerland 2, about to become 4-2. And then you can see some little 4s and 2s. The little 4s are the floor timeouts that the players can take to stop the clock, reset, make sure they can get over the halfway line within 12 seconds, which is what the Swiss need to do now. Just about done it. And then the 2s are the coaches' timeouts. Those last for 1 minute, can only be taken when it's a dead ball, and that's more for the tactical resetting.
That was a very soft goal. He got through very simply. What people need to remember is it's kind of a two-part. Part one, get the ball over half, do that safely. Part two, score the goal.
Part one has to be done within 12 seconds, and you also have to bounce it every 10 or offload it, which is what Van den Dop has just done there. And then, yes, after that you have another 28 seconds, 40 seconds on the shot clock in which to score.
One of the things to watch out is the transition. Then the Dutch transitioned very quickly to hold number 9 in place. We have a bit of a saying, dead ball time is my time. When the ball's dead, get in position quickly.
So there we have the first timeout called. Adi Moser is the player coach, and you can see at the moment he has played a little bit, but he's not going to be playing while he's got that beanie on and his jacket. So the timeout was called by number 9, Jeremy Genal, because he wasn't going to be able to get the ball over the halfway line within 30 seconds. So that resets the shot clock as far as they are concerned. And it also gave the coach a time to have a chat with them.
So that's always a bit of a mystery, these timeouts. So they go over. Coaches who say too much, all the players hear is blah, blah, blah. So you really want one message, 1 point, get it across, get them back out there.
And the point you would have been getting across to the Swiss there is calm down.
Calm down.
Do what we said we'd do.
Follow process.
Genal gets over in the corner. So they've made good use of the timeout. If you take a timeout, then it's to maintain possession when you think you're going to lose it. And if you can convert that into a point, then you've made good use of your timeout.
And look, it's such early days. There's a point at they'll possibly up by 2 once this try has been scored, but it's very early days.
And it also enabled them to have a little bit of a reset and a chat to their coach, so it will have had a double benefit for them. But yes, as you say, Grant, it's 6-4 at the moment, so the early break in favour of the Dutch.
For those people watching, keep an idea on transition. Which team transitions the quickest from offence to defence?
Chanel could be struggling again, and this time it's a second timeout taken by the Swiss. Yves Langhart, the number 11, the 1.0 there. He hasn't got the hand strength to get the ball over the halfway line in time.
And one of the things we say, a timeout, when you can, as a defensive unit, it's the equivalent of a turnover, because if you can get them off, all those 4 off, then later on in the game, those timeouts that they can't call, they become turnovers.
Well, Switzerland have used 2 of their 4 floor timeouts within the first 3 minutes and 9 seconds of a 32-minute match. So it is the equivalent of a turnover pretty much for the Dutch already. They've wiped off 2 of those timeouts. Dutch sitting in the key.
These key defences, they really rely on communication. You know, who's close, I've got this guy, you've got that guy. Communication is massive in key defence and in key offence.
Key offence, a very European thing, and the Dutch were doing it very well against New Zealand in the opening match, and the Wheel Blacks didn't seem to have an answer to it.
No, it was very disappointing. But again, the Dutch played to their strengths. I felt that New Zealand should really have gone out, pressed, put pressure on. Maybe that's a fitness thing.
Doutai gets it over the halfway line, so that's an achievement in itself as far as the Swiss are concerned. Frey picks it up. Frey was also had some classification issues, and now he is permanently classified as a 2. So his classification's not going to change. What is going to change here is one of his wheels.
Yeah, big shout out to the mechanics. They just never stop, and in some games, the attrition on tyres is just remarkable. I've been involved in games where our mechanic has never seen the game. At the end of it, said, "What's the score?"
Got their heads down all the way through, changing, and obviously it's not just a case of changing the wheels. Once the broken wheels or the popped tyres are taken off, the wheels are swapped, then the wheels that have taken off have to be worked on, and that's a great take there by Frey just before the line. You have to be in control of the ball before you go over the line. But yes, the mechanics, it's not just a case of changing the wheels, you've then got to do all the repairs on what's been damaged.
What's interesting about this game as well, I would class it as a high-low lineup versus a balanced lineup. There's not a lot of difference in speed really, so they need to slow the game down and be quite particular. And here we go.
Langhart's coming around for the inbound.
This is a massive opportunity. Low point inbound is a real opportunity to get that turnover going.
Manages to get it to Genal, who's now got 12 seconds to get it over the halfway line. Doutai should be quick enough. You can hear the countdown, and the ball's been thrown over the halfway line, but straight into the arms of Van den Dop.
And look, just for good measure, he's reached and caused a foul, so he's 2 for 2 in the dumb mistakes.
Tough love from Grant Sharman at the moment, but the Dutch are certainly doing everything right, being very patient, and the Swiss, well, they've shown a lot of their trademark, almost cliched efficiency in previous matches, even if they haven't won any of them, but it looks a bit of a scattered lineup at the moment. They're struggling for focus, I would say, at the moment, and I think the fact that they've taken these 2 timeouts so early may have thrown them a little bit.
Well, I think there's an uncanny resemblance to the New Zealand-Dutch game. The Dutch have come very, very well prepared, and while I think the record favours the Swiss, it's like they're just not sure what to do.
Yes, if anyone's going to come with a game plan, it's the Dutch. Doutai doing very well there to spin out and make sure he didn't go back over into the back court, which would have been an over and back violation, similar to a front court violation in basketball.
It's really good to see. For a long time, the sport was dominated by North America and the Australasian teams, New Zealand, Australia. But Europe's really grown and grown, and they lots of competition, lots of tournaments, and we're seeing the benefit of it now, and it's great for the sport.
3 teams from Europe have already qualified for the Paralympics. France as the hosts, but they won the Euros, which was the qualifying tournament, so they're not there purely because they're the host nation. They won that tournament, defeating Team GB in the final, and then Denmark just got the better of Germany 53-50 in the bronze medal match. So that meant that Denmark also booked a ticket for the Paris Paralympics, and then Germany hoping to join them there as well.
Very frustrating for the Swiss coach to see a player repeatedly going to the bin. There is a time to do it, and then there's a time not to do it.
Doutai in the bin once again. Van den Dop taking his time, running some time off the clock, and they've made sure that Ben Bazoun is in front of Doutai, meaning he can't get out of the bin unless he sticks his arm up and says, I'm going to inbound. And that then takes 2.5 points off court. So the 2.5 pointers inbound between one another, and Bazoun has pushed Doutai over the line. There's only 4 players per team, but the sidelines and the baseline count as an extra defender, and Bazoun did that perfectly there.
It's very good defence by the Dutch. I think the Swiss need to be asking the question. They've made a substitution, wisely so, I think.
Off goes Doutai, on comes Anton Michukov. And we've also got Christian Hanel on there as well.
I think the 4 fingers went up then from the ref, 4 in the key. You can only have 3. The key being the white box at each end, and it's a pivotal piece of real estate.
Referee Tasmin Haynes from Australia with the signal.
Some teams would actually try and stop the person coming over to stop the person coming on. The Swiss have decided no, they're not going to do that. They'll just put that person inbound and go for it.
So Michukov having replaced Doutai in the lineup and having replaced him in the sin bin. Chenal with Loma for company. But the 2.5er was always going to be able to outpace the 1.5. Into the last minute and 15 seconds. This is the time when coaches and assistants quite often hold up timestamps for players, and Loma just going to go straight over here. 1:05 is one of the timestamps that teams like. Timestamps coming into play towards the end of a quarter when you're looking to get the last possession and get the last score.
And that's critical. So we see the arrow favouring the Swiss. So the Swiss want to get in a position where they score last. It means they'll score the opportunity to score first in the second quarter. So that deficit gets caught up by 2. This is going to be critical.
I was about to say the Swiss don't want to use any timeouts purely to run the clock down to get the last possession, and they've had to use a 3rd timeout there because Roger Frey wasn't going to be able to get the ball over the halfway line. An equipment timeout there for Chenal as well.
I have to say I'm very impressed with the Dutch. They're very well drilled. Each player knows what they need to do when they need to do it. The difference will come when they're put under pressure. And should they pay New Zealand for 5th and 6th, that's a game I'd pay to come and watch.
Well, at the moment, that is looking like it will be the case. We had the first of these classification matches this morning, and it was Colombia versus New Zealand. New Zealand emerging victorious 49-42, their first win of the tournament. And so New Zealand will play the winner of this match for 5th place.
Interesting to see there. So a classification change for New Zealand. I might classify down to a 2, allowed them to bring the 1-point player on, gave them a bit more speed at the bottom end. I think it's made a huge difference.
It is when you can have a lineup that is Barton Coots, Leslie, and there we have a steal from Roger Frey. So the Swiss could well get the last possession and the last score.
Big thing here is don't panic. You know, turnover is a coach killer. Don't panic. And while that's their last time out, it's a good timeout because at least now they retain the possession. They can think, right, what are we going to do? We've got 16 seconds. It's a lifetime to score this last goal.
16.4 seconds on the game clock. Martin van Hinter looking up at the clock there. So the shot clock and the game clock are going to be the same. Hanel looking to see who he can inbound it to. It's a decent inbound to Michukov. Van den Dop is with him. Gets it away to Frey. Frey should just have the wheels on Loma.
Oh, you're kidding. So what's happened there? Normally they would call that player out, but because a bigger player, a high pointer player had a lower point player from behind, the rest of these are called a charge from behind. Yeah, this is, well, very, very unfortunate is a nice way to put it.
Tough for the Swiss there. So you can see Loma 1.5 hit, good and proper by Genal 2.5. And that's been called as charging. So the assumption was the Swiss would score the try. So that's why the Swiss have gone up to 10. But that's going to have to be chalked off. It is now. Corner inbound, and they're just going to keep that in their laps and let time elapse. And at the end of the first quarter, the Dutch have done everything right, and they lead by 12 points to 9.
So if we look at that, the way that game finished, it's a classic setup. So for people who are not familiar, there was less than 30 seconds on the clock. The arrow was favouring the Swiss. That means they're going to get the inbound. So theoretically they score that goal. They wanted to score last. Now, what was interesting there was the 1.5 with the pick bar. Let me get his name. Loma. He did a great job. The attacking player should have realised, I'm not getting around that pick bar. Should have peeled out, waited for support, popped the pass over. Personally, I think they were a bit hard done by. I mean, charging foul from behind.
2.5 on a 1.5 as well.
It came up 6 inches. I think there's a famous saying in New Zealand, you know, it's not tiddlywinks. You know, we're not playing with handbags here. And it is a contact sport. Where there's danger involved, absolutely. But, yeah, I've seen that let go before. But that's the way the game is. They should not have got that position to start with.
So what should have been 12-10 and Switzerland with the possession arrow is actually going to be 12-9. So it's quite a deficit. And the other thing below the 9, you can see a 0 and a 2. So all four timeouts used, all 4 timeouts remaining for the Netherlands, and that could be crucial.
Well, it is because literally now, every time the Swiss are in trouble, there's a big chance that the Dutch are going to get a turnover off them. We've got 3 quarters to go. It's massive. You look up at the scoreboard, it says 4-2. The Dutch got their 4 player timeouts, their 2 coaches times out. They're in a happy place. Be interesting to see what the Swiss are saying to themselves.
So the second quarter will begin with possession for the Swiss, but the Dutch are in the box seat at the moment. It's early doors, but they lead 12-9, and they have all 4 of their timeouts remaining, the floor timeouts, and the Swiss have used all of theirs.
This game is not a done deal. I mean, not at all.
We saw both teams committing turnovers in the first quarter. It was just the Swiss did it a little more often, maybe didn't get the rub of the green, particularly towards the end. And there, a little tap over the line by Michukov. He managed to send Van der Laan over the line there, so Van der Laan out at the moment. They're staying with their opening lineup, the Dutch of Bazoun, Van der Laan, Van den Dop and Loma. Switzerland having made a few changes. They brought on Hanel, the number 2, and number 10, Michukov.
Of course, there, the player without the goal, the try wasn't given because the player wasn't in a position to actually score that try or in the action of scoring it.
So we are down to 12-10. Big release there to Loma. And they're trying to push Loma back over the line. And a timeout called already by Loma. So the Swiss were trying to push him back over into his backcourt for what would have been an over and back violation. So Loma takes the first timeout on the floor for the Dutch.
Great start for the Swiss. They've taken one of those timeouts. They're only down by 2 points. If they can successfully defend here.
Adi Moser is the one who would have been talking to them the most. Behind Adi Moser, you have the official coach, Chris Hardy.
Low point inbound. Watch out, people.
Chenal, the number 9, trying to get loose, trying to open up, and it's going to be Michukov who comes in and does that. He's got no real out. And again, that's what you were saying, Grant. They're going to be some loose passes. They have no timeouts. They're going to throw the ball around.
But they do have 12 seconds to get it over, and 12 seconds is quite a long time, and that starts when they receive the ball. So they need to have a much better plan to progress the ball up the court.
They've got 3 ball handlers out there. They're hoping that Frey is going to be able to pick the ball up, as he has done. A reminder now that Frey has had his classification made permanent, so that 2.0 on his chair is going to remain. And then Joel Jung, that we haven't seen yet, he was classified a 1.0, and he's gone down to a 0.5. He'd had a triceps operation, and he's been reclassified down to a 0.5.
And we could spend all day talking about classifications. It's a very complicated process, one that 50% of the people agree with and 50% of the people disagree with.
It's an ongoing process. It's an ongoing process as well as a complicated one, so it can change in the middle of a tournament, which is what has happened here.
So this is interesting. There was no one there to put the ball in. The ref started the count, and they're having a chat, and I think it's a turnover.
The Swiss should have been ready to inbound.
Oh, this is just a real coach killer.
So Switzerland currently playing 4-on-3, but weren't there in time to inbound. The Dutch are probably going to use another timeout.
Look, that was more luck than good management, just quietly. And sometimes you need the rub of the green to go your way. But I think if I was the Swiss, I'd be having a real chat around this and how we progress things. Little sloppy mistakes at a Paralympic qualifying event, you just can't have those. They're a big no-no. You do those back home in domestic competition. Here on the world stage, everything needs to be accurate.
Referee explaining to the Swiss why there was a turnover prior to that.
So again, we can see it's very clustered over there. The they're pinning the Dutch over. So they're basically saying, we're not going to give you an outlet. You've got no one to pass to. Very clever. So the Swiss, when they took the time out, they went as close as they could. But
the Dutch get possession back. And they're going to score 3 on 4. So the problem, it was a great inbound from Bazoun. He bunted it over. And Hanel, the number 2, was the one it went nearest to. And Hanel hasn't got the function to catch it, to lean forward and catch it. So he could only try to keep it in. It ended up going back to Loma. So the Dutch have got it up to a 5-point lead, even though they've got a man in the bin.
yes, I've got to say, if I was a Swiss coach, I'd be crying by now and looking for handkerchiefs. But, you know, they can still do it. It's pressure. They've only got 2 of their timeouts left. Get those out of the game, then convert them into turnovers.
So the Dutch have extended their lead. It was 3 points, now it's 4. And it's about to be 5, you would have thought.
And they've done it. They've secured another timeout. So well done, Switzerland. Despite their own best efforts, they're getting timeouts off the Dutch. I don't know how that happened, but if you're the Swiss, you don't care.
So the Dutch down to 1 floor timeout. Switzerland have used all of theirs. I'll tell you what, the second half, the ball's going to be thrown around left, right and centre, isn't it?
We're going to have some fun commentary in the second half.
I think we're going to be catching some of the passes up here on the balcony.
Okay, so let's see the setup here. So the Swiss are quite happy to fill their, it's called I used to call it the key, I think it's still called the key. They're looking to stay quite close to force the Dutch to attack.
3 of them outside the key, leaning forward, edging forward. Van den Dop looking for a way through, and he's got past Vrij.
Again, a little bit too easy there.
Vrij needs a little bit of help, and Chanel's gone a bit too far. But with Michikov in between, it ends up working out. So a quick point for the Swiss. That's just what the doctor ordered.
And look, it was quite a good try. But sometimes the offensive player with the ball, they're in such a hurry to cross. Sometimes just stop and do nothing, and the in front of you will open up like a can of beans.
Swiss looking to get a held ball, but Van den Dop gets it out. Can they push him back over? Not quite. It wasn't quite an over and back, and it's going to be a turnover because Chanel is the quickest player there, and he's picked it up.
Oh, he should not have gone. If he'd not gone towards the Dutch player, he could have kept going. The referees wouldn't have called an equipment. He would have had to lay there and stay there.
So it's a 1.5 down. As it is, I don't know whether Chanel would quite have had the wheels to outpace Van den Dop, the 3-pointer who was elsewhere in the backcourt.
But it would be 4 on 3.
It would have been 4 on 3.
Easy peasy. And I think that's some of the little things that the top teams do very well. They understand those nuances.
So if an opponent is down, or even one of your teammates, you can carry on going as long as you don't deviate from the try line and you just head straight towards it, then you can carry on playing. And then the player who is down will be flipped back up afterwards. So everyone has a chance to reset. Dutch 3 in the key, and just about in control of that was Michikov. Bobbled it after the line.
Yeah, that's one of those 50-50 calls. If it goes with you, you're a genius. If it doesn't, head and hands.
Well, it's not. It's got the casters over the line, the front tiny little wheels. Loma again, he's been one of their main outlets throughout the tournaments. They're quite happy to have the 1.5 pointer up front.
Good safe hands, he's reasonably quick, he knows where to go. I'd like to see him come more to the sidelines, because if you're down the middle, you're catching over your back. You want to go straight to the side, because then you can run onto the ball or push onto the ball. Again, the little nuances.
Inbound to Frey, who's got Loma for company. Michukov comes back, blocks to begin with, spins around, picks up the pass.
Such a lovely, simple play. No panic, using his teammates, fantastic. And they're transitioning much quicker. This is great, but you've got to keep doing it. Keep going, keep going. So I felt they let the Dutch get away there. Number 9, the captain, I really think, you've got to keep pushing. You've got to keep pressuring them. You can't just coast.
Michukov to Frey. Chenal appears.
They're getting a bit of a rhythm going now. It's good to see. They're transitioning well, but they need to be tighter in transition, tighter in defence.
The Swiss will be G'd up by the fact that they've forced the Dutch to take 3 timeouts in less than 4 minutes at the start of the second quarter.
Like I say, in the first quarter, New Zealand would say, possum in the headlights. They just didn't seem to be in the game. They're far more into the game now. And again, progressing the ball up court. They're taking their time, waiting for the opportunity, not racing it.
Van den Dop hemmed in. Loma with great hands, though, over the top to Van der Laan.
We saw a similar thing with the Colombians against New Zealand. Nime, the one-pointer, he did a couple of wonderful long passes, get-out-of-jail passes, superb to see.
It's a decent matchup. Frey will just have the wheels on Loma.
And look, that was a pretty sweet inbound by the one-pointer Bazan. Oh, lovely, look at that. He knew he was going up there. He turned, I'm not sure he even really looked, he just fired it up. Classical with the way the Japanese play. Too easy.
Japanese do it very well. They have a real embarrassment of riches. They've got so many excellent three-pointers.
Yep.
Japan, so many good ball handlers. Not many 3.5 out-and-out high pointers, but the embarrassment of riches they've got at 3.0 level.
And without getting too political, I really think Wolrd turnover.
It is indeed a turnover. Michukov got a hand to it and it went off him, so that is a big gain for the Dutch.
I'm pretty sure that came off Luma because it bounced down, hit his head and came over. I think the old Dutch were a little bit unlucky. Let's have a look at the replay. Comes over, or maybe not. Maybe I'm being a bit harsh there.
So the Dutch with the inbound. Bazoun was always going to struggle to pick that one up. Bazoun, who has CP.
It's great to see more of our athletes with cerebral palsy getting into the game, but it is one of their weaknesses in terms of that level of coordination. But as a defensive player, superb. But again, he was straight down the court. If he'd gone to one side, he could have run onto it and made it easier for himself.
So the Swiss let that one go out of play because they knew it had been touched by Bazoun last. So turnover one way, turnover the other.
Back within 3 points, they need that. They need to get that timeout of the Dutch, then convert the any more potential timeouts into turnovers.
It's a 3-point game. The Dutch in possession.
They're going to call that. That's lazy play. Really, they're going to call that every time as a defender, rather than reach for the ball, hands on the wheels, and stop the player. at least force the pass and a potential error.
Mityukov in the bin. It was Dautai in the first period. Mityukov has replaced him, as we were saying earlier, both on the court and in the sin bin. And on the naughty step, as it were.
Yes, in the naughty box. I think we used to call it other names, like the idiot box, but probably not, shouldn't say those on TV.
So the Dutch making sure that they can spring traps, and a hand raised by Mityukov to say the only way I'm getting out of here is if I say I'm going to inbound. So instead of Harnell, 1-pointer inbounding, Harnell is part of the give and go.
So just progress it up court. Don't panic. See? Oh, miracle pass. To be honest, I'd quite just like to see Dautai come back on. I think he's learned his lesson. And I think a bit more energy. There's a reason he was in the starting lineup. Maybe it's time to bring him back on.
The Swiss at this tournament are without their captain and talisman, Dave MZ. He's another mid-pointer, so it's not as if they've got a 3 or a 3.5 that they're lacking. It's yet another mid-pointer, but he's an incredibly good 2-pointer who motivates the team, keeps them together. He's much along the lines of Adi Moser, the coach, the player coach that we can see in the background. But he tends to be the motivating force, the wise words actually out on the court while they're playing, and they're missing him at the moment.
And look, you don't need your twos to necessarily be fast, but they do need to be smart. The Wheel Blacks had a guy, Timothy Clarence Johnson, not the fastest two, fair bit of brain power, and made a difference around that. So you don't need to be fast. Obviously it helps, but if you're not fast, you've got to be really smart.
The Dutch get it back up to a 5-point game. We're into the final minute of this first half.
So now clock management becomes a really big issue. Although for the Swiss, just to get over halfway is a big issue.
Scoring is the main thing for them, and they're going to try to score as quickly as possible, and that way guarantee that they will have one more possession.
So I think the press is on here. Try and force the Dutch to score quickly, so then they have more time to score, rather than just. So this is great. This is good work.
Loma has to take it back, and it may well be that the Dutch try to run the clock down as much as they can.
Someone's got a flat tire out there. I heard the shh. You would have heard it at home. Well, maybe they didn't.
Maybe it's a Dutch player and they want to carry on. They don't want the equipment timeout. You can hear them counting down in Dutch. Perfect timing there from the Dutch. 3.5 on the shot clock, 6 on the match clock. They get it back up to a 5-point game. Switzerland now have 6 seconds in which to score. You need to make sure you don't throw out a ridiculous pass and get picked off. And that one's just going to be, thought it was going to be kept in the lap, but no. Hail Marys back and forth, result in nothing, and at the big break, it's the Netherlands 24, Switzerland 19. Back for the second half of this second classification match. The first one went the way of the home team, New Zealand, the Wheel Blacks defeating Colombia 49-42, and here Netherlands versus Switzerland to see who will play the Wheel Blacks tomorrow for 5th place. It's the Dutch leading 24-19. The second half gets underway and it's the Dutch who have possession, and it's not Ben Bazoun inbounding, but it is Hugo van Iersel. So they've changed 1-pointers and the Swiss have brought back on Armen Dautai. You can see him there with his big beard, and they've kept number 10 on Anton Michukov. So it's Roger Frey who's gone off. Jeremy Genal, the number 9, still on, and then Yves Langhart has come on as the low pointer.
Got to say, they Swiss worked that inbound very well. Progress the ball up court. Very simple goal. They look a little bit sharper.
So 25-20 on the scoreboard, and one of the other things to look at is the fact that the Swiss have used all their floor timeouts. The Dutch have got 1 left. So we're going to have some harem-scarum rugby as this match wears on. Van der Laan doing well to get it to Van den Dop.
At least the Swiss are making the Dutch work for it. That's a good thing.
They're working hard for this one. Here the countdown coming, and Loma is going to reverse over the line. That was a hard-fought try there.
So we're going back to the low point inbound, which I think is high risk. I'd much rather see one of their mid-range players inbounding with the low point picking.
Dautai needs to get it over the halfway line, which he does, and Genal has been given a lot to do there. And it's Van den Dop, the highest classification out there at the moment. He pops that beautifully into the lap of the substitute, Van Iersel.
I'd like to know if Dautai is actually counting, because I'm pretty sure he had plenty of time to just push around that.
And he's done it again, Dautai. He's thrown the passes out and...
Held ball.
So it's a held ball, and it's going to be the Dutch that get it. So that at least changes the possession arrow as far as the Swiss are concerned.
The Swiss will take that as a win. They turn the arrow, means they get the next possession, hopefully. So they'll absolutely take that as a win.
As you say, Dautai seems to be throwing the ball around a lot. And it's not the safest way to play rugby. The safest way is to keep it in your own lap.
In an ideal world, absolutely. Some good pressure being exerted here. Backcourt, are they going to call that timeout? No, he's counting. Of course, the 3 is going to get it from anywhere, really.
The Dutch extending their lead to 7 early on in this third quarter.
So when you're receiving like this, you really need to be spreading the court wide, spread the defense here, coming to one-on-ones. See, the Swiss are clustered. They're both together there now. They need to really be spreading the court a lot. Never mind picking for the guy. They've both got high point chairs. Get out of here. No. Oof.
Good hands from Genal. And good wheels as well.
Yeah,
good
some
pushing.
real aggression there. Nice.
Quick inbound from Van Iersel. Van der Laan gets it over the halfway line himself.
And he's called it. So it wouldn't have been a quarter spin because the front on it. Good hit, as Gilles Briere would once have said. So the Swiss have got, I'm pretty sure he called a timeout.
Either they've burnt the last Dutch timeout.
I think they have. Yes, they have.
Right, yes, as you can see, 0 and 2 on the scoreboard there. So that was incredibly well done by Van der Laan. He managed to call the timeout as he was going down.
And of course the shot clock's still on 29, I think. So I think I was the Swiss. I've been inclined to come out and and press them up. You know, up there, press them, work them. They're right close to the halfway line. Try and force the ball back.
Medical staff having to check on Van der Laan there because he might have taken a bit of a bump to the head as he went down. So we're saying it was a perfectly legitimate hit. It wasn't a spinning foul. Dautai hit him in front of the axle, not behind.
And just for the record, those floors are pretty damn hard.
So no timeouts left for either team. The Dutch convert their final timeout into a point, which is always what you want to do.
Great work by the one-pointer there. Formed a perfect block at the far end so the three could go through. But don't panic. Don't panic. He's looking to offload way too early. Stop. Hands on wheels. The waves part. Start pushing. Here we go.
Well, you can hear the klaxon. And that is a substitution, and I do believe a coach's timeout for that has been called by Adi Moser. You can see that 0-2 has become 0-1 for the Swiss. Moser there with Chris Hardy behind him, but it's Moser, the player coach, who is more coach than player, who has been allowed to do all the talking. And looks like Dautai is going off.
Yeah, you can't leave him on, you know, he is the weakest link at the moment in terms of those ball carriers. He's got to come off. They've got to reset. The score's blown out to 7 again. Potentially it'll be at 8.
Michikov is back on for Dautai. Roger Frey, the number 3, has come on as well, as has Samuel Schwartz. So a real change in lineup. The only one still out there is Jeremy Genal, the number 9.
This is good pressure. They're forcing them back, forcing them back. So they need to fill the key now. The Swiss need to get back, fill that key. Pressure's on. You've got to come back. You just can't let them sit there. Got to say the game's fairly easy to play from up here, just quietly. So let's see how that progresses. Don't panic. Get the ball. That's good, good. No rash thing. Oh, it was back. Oh, that's a Christmas present. Oh, now that came off the Dutch hand, I think.
Loma couldn't quite pick that one up and ended up rolling it out of play. So fortunately for the Swiss, they're going to get the ball back. Samuel Schwartz, the number 25, is going to inbound it.
So we're seeing there where they've got 3 high point chairs, only one picker out there. That means that sometimes one of those high pointers needs to provide a screen. Oh, see, that's just sloppy, really. Oh, once the 3's got it, I think it's good night nurse, really. Nice control. Knows he can get around the low point. Just looks to settle it down.
Good work by Van Eersel, the number 9 of the Dutch, to block his opposite number, quite literally, number 9 for the Swiss, Genal. 1 pointer taking out the 2.5 pointer.
Good play by the low to go long. Wheels, push it, push it, push it. Yeah, nice goal. Well done. Nice try, I should say.
Well, it gets the deficit back to 8, but the Dutch have been running away with this, and we thought and perhaps feared that there would be some loose passes and loose decision-making with both teams out of timeouts.
And look, to be fair to the Dutch, that's come about because they put really great pressure on. Don't reach. Let the clock winners down. Force them to pass it. Cover the ball. Don't reach. Now keep falling back, falling back. Yeah, very easy goal. Yeah, he knows it too. Simply work move. So great work. One is going over. Nice pass in the end. A little risky, but executed well. Job done. Now they've got to get pressure on real fast. They've got to collapse down. They've got to force the ball down. They probably need to double the three-pointer. That's just too easy, really. They need to this, they need to do that. Like I said, easy to say up here. I think what it highlights, though, is from a New Zealand perspective, unfortunately the New Zealand players, the New Zealand team, they simply don't get the level of international competition. In Europe, it's an hour, a couple of hours to drive to different countries. Same in North America, even South America. And while they'll play in the Australian leagues and play against Australia, it's the same lineup. Somehow, and it's a very big ask, New Zealand players have got to find a way to get into these tougher leagues, so they're playing different players, different experiences, and then bring that back to the team.
And ideally as well, the more players, the better. So anyone who is interested, anyone watching this for the first time, or not even the first time, but is interested in playing.
Drew, look, you read my mind there. I was just about to put a plug in and saying, if you're watching this game and you're a Kiwi, or even if you're a 3-5 living overseas and you want to live in New Zealand, come on down. We really need to find these players. Again, ball's been took out and the turnover's been called. That's great play by the Dutch, continued pressure. But getting back to it, this is a recruitment. If you're a 3-5 trunk player and you're homeless and you simply want to come and play wheelchair rugby, it's a great place to live, New Zealand. And we'll take you. I mean, I really can't speak on behalf of New Zealand Wheelchair Rugby, but it's a proud supporter. Heck yes, come on down.
And if you're already here and looking at all the equipment and thinking it looks all too complicated, I haven't got a chair like that, well, come along, and everybody who starts the game is in a borrowed chair to begin with.
Absolutely they are. There's plenty of chairs around. Just get into the game. Just give it a go. I mean, there are a lot of things over and above playing the sport, the camaraderie. Good. Oh, see, unfortunately the Swiss now, their heads are down, and so corresponding the Dutch, their heads are up. They're going to really apply pressure here now.
Adi Moser talking to Armin Dautai there, giving him some strict instructions, and that one a bit too much for Schwartz, for Mitukov to do, but Schwartz comes up and picks it up. And I'm sure as they go past the bench there, they will be told to calm things down. 73 seconds to go in this third quarter. That's gone by quite quickly. Obviously no timeouts can be called, so it's going to go by more quickly.
Exactly.
The Dutch take their time getting it over the line, and they've always got the outlet in Van den Dop, who's been hemmed in nicely. Can't go back over into his back court.
Again, we're seeing that trunk function, the ability to turn, etc. Well taken. Good pass, well taken, reliable hands. But as I was saying before, come and take part in wheelchair rugby. There are, it's a great community. It's good exercise. It's fun. I may look at it looks a bit here and scare him, but you come in at different levels, and it is fun, and it is good for your health. Except if you get a finger smashed or something else, but look, let's not dwell on that. And learn the game, come into the game at an entry level. Even if you're a low pointer, there's a lot of low point rugby played, and it's just a lot of fun. And who knows, if you work hard enough, if you've got a bit of talent, bit of skill, ready to commit, you could be playing on the international stage, and nothing beats it.
35 seconds to go. A great pass over the top by Van den Dop, and then Van Iersel decides to take his time. And they're going to run down the clock a little bit as we get towards the end of the third quarter.
So the Dutch really need to be saying to themselves, right, we're up against the Kiwis. They're going to be a much different beast coming out. We need to really drill these finer points, make sure we score last.
I've been fortunate enough to commentate with a lot of experts in the game, and I've got one alongside me at the moment who's coached New Zealand to a gold medal. But one of the Dutch captain who's not playing at the moment. I asked him before, if you're not winning, then what do you do? And he said, win your development. Well, they're not winning at the moment. They are winning at the moment, the Dutch. They lead 38-27 going into the final quarter.
So that's very true. There's something to be gained from every game. So these teams, they're not going to make the playoffs, the opportunity to go to Paris. So then you need to reset your clock and go, okay, what are our goals and what do we need to do? And in the game against Colombia, I may have mentioned a couple of times that I felt some of the bench should have come on because New Zealand had quite a good lead and it would be great experience. And even if the lead came down, it's very difficult. They wanted the win. They desperately wanted the win. They were going to get the win, but get the win and get the experience, particularly with Richardson, this young lady, 3.5 player, ton of potential. Those are the opportunities. It is difficult to do because you're desperate for the win, but you need to have that long-term strategic vision. When New Zealand won the gold, we were ranked 6th in the world, pretty much written off, and it can be done. And I believe this New Zealand side, with some new players, some new blood, so to speak, could really do it in terms of looking at maybe Los Angeles as a good entry to get up there, get the experience, and go from there. But it's great, and it is about the smart thinking. I think, though, in this game, the Dutch have been really quite clinical. When you watch the European teams play, there was a lot of chess going out there, very deliberate, not quite the helter-skelter of Japan, of GB when Roberts was out there, of the US. So far more deliberate, but I think the pressure that the Dutch have applied has unnerved the Swiss, albeit without their inspirational captain. Even so, I think they could have played better. So I'd be saying to them, right, we're going to win this quarter. We're going to win this quarter. We're going to score more points than the Dutch, and that's what we're going to take away with it.
Win your development. If you're 11 points behind with 1 quarter to go, then win this quarter. And as you were saying, for the Dutch, it's okay, we're 11 points clear, but let's make sure we score last, we run down the clock, we do good clock management, and we prepare for the 5th and 6th place playoff that is coming on Sunday.
Exciting. If you're in the lower hut, come down. Unfortunately, New Zealand won't be in a contention for a medal, but you'll see some great rugby, some competitive teams. Please come down.
Back for the 4th and final quarter. You can see all the flags in the background. Can't quite see the Australian one. It's in alphabetical order. Australia, Brazil, Canada, Colombia, Netherlands, Germany, New Zealand and Switzerland here. And it is Netherlands versus Switzerland. Netherlands getting us underway in the 4th quarter with an 11-point lead.
We see that the Dutch, Netherlands, they put on a new lineup. They're trying a new high pointer to give him a chance, bit of experience in that 4th quarter. This is good thinking by the Dutch because they played pretty much the same lineup the whole tournament so far. They need a bit of a breather. They know the Kiwis are going to come at them. Good experience for this player.
Good news for the Dutch, the number 2 there that we're talking about, Rizal Karabulut, who's going to go over and score. He began the tournament as a 3.5 and has been classified down to a 3.0, as you can see on the back of his chair. So that is certainly worth its weight in gold for the Dutch.
Anytime you can get that classification down a bit, you're very happy, and I would suspect the only real happy people are the Dutch, and in particular the Dutch coach, but I may be biased. And if you are considering playing wheelchair rugby, we don't care whether you're male, female, or not quite sure. We'll take anyone. And it really is that equality and the ability to mix it, male and female. And I've played with some terrific female players. Christine Smith comes to mind. She was an absolute machine, that woman. So don't think, oh, I'm female, I can't play. You can absolutely play and show the boys up. So come on, ladies, let's see you come along.
Handed over nicely by Van der Laan, however, no try.
You'll see the signal from the ref there, over and back. So he's taken, probably just one wheel has gone over, and then the Swiss have somehow pushed him back, and so over and back, try disallowed.
Great defence by the Swiss, and then the immediate inbound from Hanel goes astray, and all that good work is undone.
So that is a coach killer, turnover. You really do just want to cry.
Dautai back out there with Schwarz, Hanel and Genal.
I think this is a good move because hopefully they haven't just sent him out and said go for it. Hopefully they said we want you to work on this, so you can come out and work on that and get better at it.
Another turnover committed by the Swiss. Van der Laan struggling, gets it away to Loma, who hasn't got the greatest of function, but he manages to get it out to Karabulut. Van Iersel won't have the wheels. Dautai gets back, but Van der Laan gets it over the line.
And in fact, it was a penalty goal because there was a reach there by Dautai, but the ref about to score called the goal, called the try. Good refereeing. And I think that's classified as a Hail Mary in terms of technical terms, but it came off.
Yes, you were saying that Dautai was hopefully given some words of wisdom from Adi Moser. I'm sure one of those wasn't throw a no-look pass over your head and assume that the 1.5-pointer Christian Hanel will be right there to pick it up.
Exactly right. Look, he's got a ton of potential. He's got pace, he's got mobility, he's got aggression. Just needs to channel it now into being a bit of a smarter player. And that's just time and coaching, teammates, practice. Dare I say it, a bit of mental skills training. It never goes amiss.
Dutch set up in front of the key, 3 in the key, and Loma lurking around outside. Has to make sure he doesn't go in or get pushed in.
So they're going to keep him in now, they should do, to force him 10 seconds in the key.
Genal unable to get out, and the number 9 just about manages to extirpate himself. He's back in there now. Nicely done.
And Drew, I've got to say, there's nothing like a good expedition to make the coaches feel happy, so always good getting one of those in. Good pressure by the Swiss here. Good pressure. Come on, Dautai. Now push, 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 push. Oh, lovely work. But to a low. Now the Swiss need to get back. They need to surround him. Don't push him over the line. And really try and get the turn. Oh, nice. There we go. Beautiful. Be patient. You've got 12 seconds. Progressing the ball. Nice long pass to the low, which makes me slightly nervous. But there we go. All through pressure, pressure, pressure.
Dautai gets himself back in the coach's good books. And when I say coach, I don't mean Adi Moser or Christian Hardy. I mean Grant Sharman alongside me.
Everyone's in my good books. It's just which page of the good book they're in.
Loma is in everyone's good books. He's everybody's friend. Over the line.
He's the sort of player that's so valuable for the team. He can kind of mix it with the twos. He's got the pick bar. He knows when to go, when to stay. He's one of those really annoying people in the sport if he's not on your team. So big ups to him.
You can't be annoyed by Hector. Happy Hector,
Happy
we call
Hector.
him.
Yes, absolutely. Now look at that. Perfect. Used the block, took his time, looked up, support players up. It's an easy sport when you do it well.
Loma with 10 seconds to take the inbound. The clock doesn't start until until the ball has been touched by another player or another chair.
We see the difficulty there. 2 high point players with high point chairs. They're never going to pick. Dautai probably needed to up the wheels a bit, try and get in front of him and force him over the line. Chair position is critical.
can see the difference in the chairs there. You can see the number 2, Harnell, and Loma with him with the pick bars at the front of the chairs, and then Dautai obviously has a more rounded one.
And for people watching the sport, the chairs are meticulously checked. They've got very, 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 very specific rules and dimensions they've got to follow. As I can tell from 2007 against our Canadian friends that protested. Have I forgiven them? No, not really. But there you go, that's sport. But again, it's checked every time. And even after every game, you need to check your equipment. You need to look at it. Is there a weak spot?
Coach's timeout called by Martin van Hinter. You can see 0-2 for Netherlands alongside the 44. So they've got 2 coaches' timeouts that they can call.
So he looks like a very young player, perhaps a new player. He's a 2.0 player. Very difficult for the 2.0 players, those mid-range players with the number of 3.5 monsters out there. Oh, I buy a lotto ticket. That was over and back. Well done.
So Van der Laar has come on for the Dutch. He's the number 4. Seen a little bit of him throughout the tournament.
So now apply pressure to him, but it'd be good expression, good opportunity for number 4 to figure it out. Oh, lovely tip on. Yeah, but maybe not to a low pointer. The idea was there in an ideal world, catch it, hold it, turn back. Probably when young, where am I? Young Loma got that ball. He just saw an orange singlet and thought, I'll tip it on. You need to be aware.
Well, the Dutch are going to get another bite of the cherry there.
And to be honest, that play really commentates itself, and better than I don't say anything, really.
It's the kind of play you're going to see with no timeouts left in the final quarter.
Yes, it is.
Van der Laar going this way and that. Hemmed in by Dautai, Harnell. There's a lot of people in a little real estate there.
And look, you know, you don't want to reach because the referees are looking for it. That's lovely play. He got the ball out. He went right around the long way, fancied his chances, scored in the corner. Beautiful.
Karabulut is going to be a useful player for them. He was 3.5 at the European Championships last May in Cardiff. And he was 3.5 coming into this tournament. And now at 3, he is a good replacement for Van den Dop. As opposed to having to change their lineups, they can just change in and out the 3 pointers. Big hit there.
So I'd like to see the 2 3s play together, but with Loma, the 1-5, who's borderline another ball carrier, we can see it now, and then a 0.5 at the bottom, or 2 1s. I just think that, but you need a really good 0.5. Quick, playing like a 1. The trunk players, they really do make a difference, and I really think World Rugby needs to have a good look at this. Yes, they make it an absolute spectacle, but it's actually removing a chunk of players because a lot of them are playing the high-low combination. So they're playing a 3-5 or a 3, 2 of those up against 2 low-point players. So your mid-range players, your 2-point players, sometimes your 2-5s really aren't getting on court, and that's just a travesty. And I think the solution is simple. I think those big 3-5s, you make them a 4-point player within that 8-point sequence. So just to be clear, your 4 players on court, their classification needs to add up to 8 points or less. Or if you have a female player, then you can get half a point more. And Japan used that very well with their 2 3s. They had a 1 who was a female, so a 1-5 who then played as a 1, and it gave them an absolute edge. And then it would allow more on, and it would still be a great spectacle. So sometimes I think when you get carried away with the sport, with the event, and on the world stage, You need to come back. Who's playing this? It's the players. And you want to make sure that all players of whatever functional classification get a chance to take the court. Like, you know, dare I say it, I think maybe they've lost their way a little bit there. It'll be interesting what some of the players think. We've got 2 Swiss in the bin, so this is going to be fun. So the way to do this will be to score quickly, and then just so then you've got 1 player inbounding to 2 players. So you deny the ball, double. The inbounder has got no one to give it to. It's a turnover, and you score again. That would be the play here.
With barely a minute left, the Dutch are going to wind the clock down on the 4-on-2, and then probably wind the clock down again on the 4-on-1. Yes, Japan with an embarrassment of riches in terms of the 3-pointers, and then Kei Korahashi, the 0.5 pointer, who is female, who is basically a free player for them and enables them to play a couple of their 3-pointers.
So again, a big plug for any of our females out there who quite fancy a bit of rough and tumble, reckon they can mix it, and they absolutely can. Go along, find a wheelchair rugby team in your area. There will be one. Go through the Parafed network, etc., or even contact Paralympics New Zealand directly. Find out who the contact is. Join up. Go along. They'll put you in a chair. They'll give you a chance. They're not going to smash you from the word go. Get into the sport. Realise the value you have as a female player with that half-point advantage, and you could be on the world stage.
On the world stage at the moment, it's the Netherlands and Switzerland, and the Netherlands are looking to take it into Sunday's 5th place playoff against the host nation, and they want to do it. They tried to get the half century but couldn't quite manage it, but it's a comprehensive victory for the team in orange. 49-36 they have defeated the Swiss. The level went down a little bit in the second half because there were no timeouts left, perhaps to be expected when it's a local derby, teams that know one another very well, and there was a lot at stake, but a very good performance by the Dutch.
Drew, if I could just put a plug in there, if you're in the Wellington region, tomorrow you're going to see the All Blacks come up against the Dutch. They lost to the Dutch in their first game. They're a different side now. I think you're going to see a very, very close game. Come on down to the New Zealand Centre for Innovation and Sport. Check it out. You've got international wheelchair rugby. You'll see the Canadians play. The Australians are always dynamic. The Germans, the Brazilians that are really coming up through the rankings. You know, what better way to spend a Sunday and see people with disabilities bash the you-know-what out of each other. It's a great sport, and you're allowed to enjoy it. Come on down.
A quick look at the Brazilian coach there, Benoit Labrec. He's been all around the world coaching, and his Brazil team will be in action against Australia in an hour and a half's time in the first of the semi-finals. Brazil looking to make it through to the Paralympics, as the Dutch team shake hands with the table officials and the 2 referees who did a sparkling job.
Yes, bring on tomorrow. Come on, the men in orange. Let's see what you've got against the men and women in black.
Dutch doing a lap of honour. Happy Hector with a big smile on his face, and there's a few Oranje, a few people in orange in the crowd, as you can see bottom left, and hopefully we're going to get a chat to 1 or 2 of the players. So earlier in the day, Colombia 42, New Zealand 49, and that means that New Zealand will face Netherlands in the 5th place playoff on Sunday, while Switzerland and Colombia will go at it for 7th place. And then this afternoon, the 2 semi-finals. Whoever wins those, they get into the final, and they also book a spot at the Paralympics. Canada versus Germany, Australia versus Brazil. The winners will go through to Sunday's final, and the losers, well, they won't be losers because they will go to the 3rd place playoff, and the winner of that will also book a spot at the Paralympics at Paris 2024. So that 3rd place playoff is going to be one of the biggest matches in rugby this year. The teams just getting into their huddles, as they always do at the end of the match. we have Jai Waite, whom you coached, Grant, back in 2004, and he is about to have a chat, I do believe, with Davy van den Dop of the Dutch.
Right. Davy, 13-point victory, a great win today.
Yeah, it was amazing. We were a little bit hesitated at the start because we lost twice in a row in the past 2 years, but now we had a good tactic and we won by a big margin, so it is nice.
And tomorrow, the Kiwis again, big game.
Yeah, they had a change in the lineup because one of the players went down, so they have a lot more power on court, so it will be a fun game again, I hope.
Well, good luck for tomorrow. Go on.
Thank you very much.
Good to hear from Davy van den Dop of the Netherlands, and he was obviously cutting a happy figure, and it's going to be difficult for the Swiss to put a smile on their faces, but we'll see what Anton Michukov has to say now, talking with Jai Waite.
Mitch, tough loss today. How did you find that game?
That was a good game. This was actually a really good game. But yeah, they were better. We played. I don't know. We tried everything. It is how it is. A little bit upset. I don't even know what to tell you.
But Swiss wheelchair rugby's made quite a comeback though from days gone by. You guys are doing quite well. How do you feel?
Yeah, we have a lot of new players. A lot of new players who are actually really interested in rugby. So we're watching games all together, making a lot of analyst stuff. Participating in different tournaments. So I think that Switzerland have a really bright future. Yeah.
Well, good luck for tomorrow. Cheers, Mitch.
Thanks.
That's wonderful to hear from Anton Michukov, and it was exactly what you were saying, Grant. It's just get in there, take part, and you'll enjoy it.
Yeah, I think so. And the other thing, the camaraderie, you'll see players from different teams talking to each other. You make friends around the world. I've seen a couple of players who I actually played against back in the dim, dark ages here, and you still have that camaraderie, etc. I can't emphasise enough, if you're somewhere in the region, get down to Upper Hutt, get into the game here and watch tomorrow. Even come for the two semi-finals later on today. They'll be outstanding games. It's very rare to have this level of this calibre of teams from overseas come and play. Don't miss this opportunity, and particularly tomorrow, come watch the Kiwis take on the Dutch.
And prior to that, we have the two semi-finals coming up this afternoon. Canada versus Germany at 6 o'clock, but before that at 3:30, Australia taking on Brazil. So please join us for that one.